There's a crisis happening in our schools, hidden right in plain sight. It's unfolding in those crowded hallways, but it isn't loud. It's not disruptive. Actually, its defining feature is just silence. So today, we're going to talk about this silent epidemic, student loneliness. I feel invisible. Just let that sink in for a second. This is a real quote from a student, and man, it just cuts right to the heart of the whole thing. Can you imagine being surrounded by hundreds, maybe thousands of kids your own age every single day and still feeling completely and utterly unseen? It's like you're watching the world happen from behind glass. And this is not some rare, isolated thing. An educator with 25 years in the system will tell you, for so many students, just showing up to school in the morning takes a staggering amount of courage. They're walking into a place that's supposed to be all about community and connection, but for them, it's just a place of deep, painful disconnection. So, the big question is, how did we get here? Right? What are the actual forces at play that are making kids feel more disconnected than ever before? Let's break down the anatomy of this loneliness. Well, here's what makes this so tricky. A huge part of the problem is that it's designed to be invisible. The shame that kids feel about not having friends, it's so powerful, so humiliating, that they become absolute masters at hiding it. It's this heavy secret they carry around, thinking that it's some kind of personal failure. So what do? They develop these survival tactics. You've probably seen it. They're glued to their phones, pretending to text someone, or they find a safe corner in the library, or even hide out in a bathroom stall during lunch. Anything to avoid that awful public feeling of sitting alone in a packed cafeteria. For some kids, it gets so bad they just stop eating lunch at school altogether. And this problem is also systemic. It's not just in the kids' heads. There's been a huge shift in what we ask our schools to be. It used to be that schools had all these built-in spaces for connection, clubs, activities, just general downtime. But now, the focus has gotten laser sharp on academic performance and standardized test scores. We've kind of pushed aside the very things that build a community. And the emotional cost of that shift, wow, it is immense. An educator said the sorrow these students carry is palpable. You can literally feel it. They start to internalize their isolation, and they come to believe that there's something fundamentally wrong with them. It's not just feeling sad. It's a deep, gut-wrenching feeling of being broken. Now, we have to understand, this isn't just some teenage phase they'll grow out of. No way. When you're talking about chronic loneliness during these critical years, it can have serious, long-term consequences. It can literally reshape a person's entire future. Let's dig into that lasting impact. This brings us to a really key idea, social atrophy. Think about it like a muscle in your body. If you don't use it, it gets weaker. It's the exact same with social skills. When students are isolated, their actual ability to just talk to people, to navigate social situations, it starts to fade. And of course, that just makes it even harder to connect, which creates this vicious downward spiral. And listen, this isn't just some textbook definition, it is a painful everyday reality. This quote is from a 14-year-old. It shows you exactly what that atrophy feels like from the inside. The fear just builds and builds until the simplest thing, just starting a conversation, feels completely impossible. So what happens? Eventually, you just give up trying. And for our neurodiverse students, kids on the autism spectrum, for example, this whole social maze is just infinitely more complicated. They often have these incredibly rich, fascinating inner worlds, but they really struggle to bridge that gap and meet the social expectations of their peers. This makes them especially vulnerable to a really profound kind of loneliness. This analogy from a student with autism, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? That feeling of being an outsider to a game that everybody else just seems to know how to play instinctively. It leaves them trying to reverse engineer the basic rules of human connection, which is, as you can imagine, an exhausting and often heartbreaking thing to do every single day. Okay, so that's the problem, and it's heavy. But, and this is a big but, this is not a hopeless situation, not even close. There are practical, proven things that we can do that make a real, tangible difference. So let's shift gears and focus on how we can start forging the connections these students so desperately need. And look, everybody has a part to play in this. School administrators, they can set up really simple things like community tables in the cafeteria. Teachers, they can create expertise boards where kids can share something they're good at, sparking connections over shared passions. And parents can be huge advocates, pushing back on school policies that put liability concerns over basic human connection. And we know for a fact that this stuff works. It's not just a nice theory. Let's take a look at a case study. Oak Ridge High School. About 3 years ago, they put a whole strategy in place. Advisory periods, clubs based on student interests, peer mentoring, the whole 9 yards. And the results? They were absolutely astounding. First off, a 40% reduction in students saying they felt isolated. 40%. That's not just a number, that's a massive cultural shift inside a school. Then, get this, a 35% drop in behavioral incidents. It makes perfect sense, right? When students feel like they belong, they feel safer, they're less likely to act out. And finally, a 25% improvement in attendance rates. I mean, what does that tell you? It means students actually wanted to be at school. It just goes to show that when you build a culture of belonging, everybody wins. So this all brings us to the most important part of the whole conversation. Because, understanding a problem is one thing, but doing something about it, that's what really matters. So this is a call to action for every single one of us. Here are 4 simple, concrete things you can do. 1, share what you've learned. Get this information to school leaders. 2, start a conversation in your own community. 3, be the person who looks for the lonely student and takes one small step. Just invite them to sit with you, ask them what they're into. And 4, challenge those rules that get in the way of kids just being kids and connecting with each other. Look, this isn't about one person solving this entire epidemic overnight. That's impossible. It's about 1,000 tiny actions creating a massive shift. So the real question is a personal one for you. What's one thing, just one thing, you'll do tomorrow to help one lonely student feel seen? Because in the end, the solution isn't just about packing kids into a room together. I mean, you can be in the biggest crowd in the world and still feel completely alone. The true opposite of loneliness, it isn't togetherness, it's belonging. And belonging isn't something that just happens, it's something we have to choose to create for every single student, every single day.